Hello and welcome to the second part of our lovely podcast with Shubham Kuchhal. In the first podcast, people who are looking to know any detail about IMT process, the eligibility, how you can enter, how you can prepare, about the curriculum, the internships, and the placements. You may know all the details from the part one of the podcast series. Part two, we want you, Shubham, to cover your learnings from your internships, from your final placement, your learnings, your advice simultaneously, and finally, how you landed into this particular job. And I don't want only the technical part because, yes, a lot of people, as per the eligibility or the requirement of cognizant eligibility criteria, must be sitting in the interview or the GD process. But what you feel helped you in cracking that interview or that job role, and what you feel that what technical insights one should brush up, what soft skills you feel is needed after your own learning experience or after the multiple failures you were talking about in the first session. And for my dear listeners, failure is always an opportunity to learn, to know yourself better, because that's the only way to groom yourself. So over to you, Shubham. How is your professional journey, apart from academics, in this podcast, please? Over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for bringing this question up. So, first coming to the internship. So, our internship was completely virtual, right? So, in our internship, the brief to us was quite simple. Since it was COVID-19 and all the companies were struggling to keep themselves afloat in the face of,
True.
in the face of reducing demand and turmoil all over the place. So, they basically asked us to prepare sort of a business plan, or you can say a market research report on what new opportunities that we see for IT services industry in travel and hospitality space.
Mm-hmm.
So I was assigned travel and hospitality. I was tagged to one of my teammates. So we worked in a group of two people. Six interns were selected, and we worked in groups of two people. So we two worked on travel and hospitality space. So our brief was find new opportunities of growth in travel and hospitality space, keeping COVID-19 as a backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there were many key learnings that I found from that exercise.
Sure.
First was to for any research project, right? It's very important to rely on primary research as well. That was one learning. For secondary research is like a very is also there. Secondary research is very important to form the initial hypothesis and to form the base, but primary research is where the actual insights come. Interviewing people and getting to know them, getting to I interviewed many CIOs, CXOs myself during my internships season, to understand how travel and hospitality space, what headwinds they are facing, right? So I think that was one experience that pushed me a lot, in terms of having that understanding of how to deliver the best outcome, right? So that was one. Second learning was that you have to align what you are doing with your mentors and the key stakeholders, right? So regular 1 week cadence, 2 weeks, regular 1 week or 2 weeks, we used to show them, this is how we are preparing the presentation, this is how we are presenting the report. So their feedback used to help us a lot. In I remember in one case, his feedback was so critical that we had to change the entire flow of the presentation and we had to rework everything. Although in the moment we were, I was particularly not really happy about it because we worked a lot for that. But having said that, in retrospect, I feel that was really important. So not taking things personally and understanding what is the requirement, right? For From a business point of view, from a business stakeholders point of view, that is really important. That was one of the key learning. And third was, um, always leverage as much resources as you can within company, uh, outside company, to give the best possible outcome, especially during the internship season. It's a potential job opportunity if you give your best shot to that, right? The employer can give you an opportunity. It's possible that the employer might not give you an opportunity because of certain reasons at that point, but maybe an year later, who knows, an year and a half later, they may get back to you because of the work that you did or because of your relationship with them. So it's
True.
important to leave a very good impression
Mm-hmm.
wherever one does work. So I think that really helped in my favor in spite
Mm-hmm.
of COVID-19, being a very major drawback, or not a drawback as such, but a big dent on economy and all these things. We were extended a final placement offer, and it really relieved a lot of worries that one
True.
faces.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because when you really perform well on internship, company has already prepared you halfway, and you have
correct,
already developed your working references inside the company. So
exactly.
you navigated very well through your internship and final placement. What do you think? What kind of technical other certifications? Because there is such a flood of different kind of certifications apart from your general UG or PG. What you feel at this point of time you could have done better technically in terms of certification, or people who are following your path now, engineering and then doing PGDBM from IMT Ghaziabad. What additional certifications would you like to suggest and from where?
Okay, so when it comes to business roles, right? So business roles can be of a business analyst, data analyst, or a data scientist, even in certain cases. So technical certification include, in my opinion, three critical skills,
Sure.
which is Excel, PowerPoint,
Mm-hmm.
and Word document, right? These are the absolute three that one should know their way around. And also there is Python, very basic Python for data analysis, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when the data set is quite large, 1 lakh rows plus 10 lakh rows,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to analyze it using Excel. So Python also is very important. And then there are visualization tools for dashboards and all, such as Power BI, such as
Mm-hmm.
Tableau,
Mm-hmm.
and even Excel is a good one, but Excel limited. There are certain limitations for Excel, but Power BI, Tableau, basic Python, and the Word and the Microsoft Suite, which includes PPT, Word, and Excel.
Mm-hmm.
These certifications for them, I think, is absolutely necessary. Also, one should not stop at certification. One should do small projects, take projects from their own end. For
Okay.
example, one may think, in Excel, let me download a data set from a government website and analyze, um, let's say, um, let's say the employment provided by Manrega over the
Mm-hmm.
last 10 years for different states. So one can do all these things. The data set is available on internet. One may download it, one may analyze it. So doing these small projects is very important, I would say, in order to gain an understanding on the different tools that are there. Also, I missed one tool, which is SQL. SQL is also important.
Sure.
So yeah, so doing all these projects is also important. Implementing them is also very
Okay. Okay. So you mean to say one should continue doing the project even if you have got a full-time job and you're learning a new certification?
yes.
Any particular website or institution you would like to recommend? Because there are so many on LinkedIn, so many on Udemy, and there are so many other sites also. Which one you recommend personally?
So Udemy is good for all these Python and SQL. Udemy is good. Then there is W3 schools for SQL. Then there is Google Colab. So what happens is when you have to do some very basic coding, you have to download Python as a different system, as a different application. So rather than doing that, you can do it online using Google Colab Studio. And because of ChatGPT, we should be thankful to ChatGPT. All these things are quite easy. With one prompt in ChatGPT, you can learn all these things. It's really a cut copy paste in nowadays. It's not that I will have to write it from beginning and it will be really difficult. So using ChatGPT, using Google Colab Studio, and all these online resources, Udemy, and I would not suggest Coursera as such, but Udemy is good. One can easily learn all these things, and one must actively use these tools in their job
Mm-hmm.
wherever possible. If it comes in, if an opportunity comes, one should definitely use this.
Mm-hmm. Any major technical challenge you remember, today? that, okay, this was a major challenge in my professional life or career so far? Because you have been working from past 6 to 7 years now, post your
Mm,
UG. So I'm including that period also. Any major
mm.
challenge, professional challenge, or technical challenge you faced in your journey, and how you handled that?
Yes. Yeah, so I faced it. I faced quite a few of them. I faced initially in my first job, right? In my first job, I thought, in my first job, to be quite candid, I thought I was not the complete right fit for it. Because my job involved reading a lot of intellectual property documents, such as patents document, right? Patent documents. So any given day, we had to read 1,000 patents, not read, but glance through our screen, 1,000 patents.
Pretty
So I
tough.
think that job was really difficult in terms of having a very high attention to detail, especially expecting it from a fresh college undergraduate, right? I
Hmm.
mean, there were MTech graduates that were also hired. They were better adapted to that because they have a habit of reading research papers for MTech. So I think that really opened my eyes. To be honest, first job, opened my eyes, and it made me aware of that if one is not good at what they do, they should pursue maybe that field in which their natural skills are good at. So I think in my first job, that was a major challenge. I used to struggle with reading a lot of patterns and having that level of concentration. I think, and the technical documents are so much, right. They are not easy to read. They are very written in a very topsy turvy language, especially legal language, right. It's a very twisty language. So reading through them and analyzing them, it was a difficult task, especially expecting it from a college undergraduate who has no experience. So I think that was a really challenging one, and but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot in terms of market research, in terms of preparing reports, having communication with different team members, upper stakeholders, and all these folks, and having a professional demeanor. All these basic etiquettes I covered, but yeah, the content of the job was really difficult. And in my second job, I remember I worked as an account manager, a key account manager, with handling different B2B customers, right? So I think that job was suited to me in terms of my natural skill set and natural personality. But having said that, there were very difficult customers that one has to handle. So I remember once. There was actually, because of certain reasons, there was a fire that broke out in one of our centers, in one, not centers, but in one of our places where we have installed our system in my second job. So I had to go to that place, leaving everything in my office, and I had to calm them down that this we will find the troubleshooting, we will do the troubleshooting for this. And mainly the problem lied on their end, but since we were also involved, the blame was shifted to us. And over time, we tried to resolve the situation by constantly meeting them and providing them with a plan that this all these problems, we can help you proactively troubleshoot them. And all these tactics that usually we do for customer relationship management. So I learned a lot from that incident. There were also many other incidents where the customers were extremely difficult to handle. Their expectations keep changing, and you have to go and visit them and understand them. You have to hear a lot, and you have to say in such a way to handle them. So yeah, in both the jobs, it was quite a great learning experience.
I'm sure with such effective, good, and channelizing communication skills, you would be able to handle it, or you would have handled it beautifully. But it was new for me, because definitely a person who is just out from a PGDBM program and is being asked to study those intellectual patent documents. So since the
Ma'am,
tech,
that was my one correction. That was after my UG. That was after my
okay.
UG.
So when after engineering, especially when you were
Yeah.
going this profile, how you used to learn the technical terms? You used
Hmm.
to get it through internet, or how? Because the language was also very technical into those documents.
Correct, correct. So my company conducted a classroom training session for 2 weeks, first 2 weeks.
Okay.
They taught us about all those legal terms, legal terminologies,
Hmm.
how to analyze patents, what to see, which areas to see, which section of a patent is important, which section
Okay.
is not. So they
Hmm.
all taught us. They were quite helpful. I mean, they were like my first employers. They were quite helpful in hand-holding me to analyze patents. But having said that, after a point in time, I felt I may not be the right person for this job.
Sure.
Because of certain reasons, right? So that's why I shifted to my second company. But
Which was that company?
my first company, you're saying,
Yeah, which was it?
EvalueServe.
Acha, that was
EvalueServe.
in ValueServe. Yes, you were there. Okay.
Mhm.
And then you were also into marketing, and you now you have been at least 2 to 3 years old in Cognizant. So,
Yes.
what is your job role here? What you are exactly doing? This is for our viewers that what you are exactly doing. What is the job role? And if somebody wants to follow your footstep, what technical preparation you feel you would have done, and they should come prepared now as an upcoming generation or managers.
Yeah, so my current role at Cognizant is sort of a business development manager. So basically, if I have to describe it in one line, we drive the revenue growth for our company, right? So how do we do that? We make value proposition using presentations and effective material in order to convince the customers to give us the business, right? So it's sort of marketing, you can say, sales and marketing. It's a core sales and marketing in which we are basically creating collaterals, or we are creating effective client presentations so as to help our sales team who is in US to pitch to very large enterprise customers to win business. So that is my role, to drive revenue growth in one word. And second is to uh, sort of, yeah, to just to dive one level down, to make those presentations, right? To drive those presentations and make a compelling value proposition that what Cognizant brings to the table, and why should you give us the business rather than to some XYZ other IT company, right? So that is our whole role. So yeah, so coming to the skills that one should have the understanding of marketing, right? How does one market a product, what benefits it entails, and how do one sell, right? Selling is really important in any sphere of life, even in different roles. HR may have to sell a candidate to his boss, right, why the candidate is the right fit, and ops person might have to sell something else. So every person needs to learn sales, I think, in some point. So from my job perspective, I think an understanding of financial statements, an understanding of how an IT company's finances work, how do IT companies win business, right? That is very important. What is the general structure in how IT companies work, right? How do IT companies plan project management, program management? How do they deliver large scale transformational programs for large customers, right? Some of the largest names that we hear in industry, in banking or in any industry. I mean, every potential company in this planet, on this planet, is a potential IT customer. That's what I feel. So how do these IT companies run? I mean, what value prop do they bring to the table? All of this is information is freely available on internet. So I think having an understanding of that is really important. And obviously, marketing and sales, wow, selling is very important.
You have given a very beautiful and a very important list of questions for people who are coming to IT industry, but that too into marketing and sales. So, what do you think should be a strength of a person which a person can bank on while the person is coming for this kind of sales into IT industry? Because handling competition, handling that stress, knowing the USP of your own product and service, knowing you as a leader in that particular segment, what do you think about all this? What is your perspective?
From a skills perspective, a candidate should have very strong communication skills. They should have an executive presence that we call. They should understand that stakeholder that they are interacting with can be someone who is 30 years in the same company. So to have that executive presence, to have that sort of very clear communication to make them understand what is the problem at hand and what needs to be done is very important. Because I work with people who are like the business unit head and very senior folks, easily 30 years into the company, 25 years in the company. They don't have time for anything actually. So to have a very clear, crisp communication, uh, and a very very quick and a very effective way of delivering that, to make them understand, that is one skill that one needs to have. It's called the art of abstraction. where you having a lot of data points, but you abstract it in very small way. So abstraction is very important for any MBA graduate, I feel. You cannot take, I mean, abstraction is important that let's say you have a 200-page document, you have to condense it into a two-slide presentation. So I think that art of abstraction is really important. That's what one of our professor used to say. The art of abstraction is something which an MBA graduate have, irrespective of specialization. So communication skill, abstraction, then financial sense, right?
Financial.
Whether a particular,
Hmm.
yeah, financial sense,
Okay.
whether a deal whether anything is viable or not, right?
Hmm.
Makes sense or not. Analytical skills is also there, as Excel and all these things also come into play. So a combination of all these skills is absolutely necessary. What I
Okay, okay. So going forward, what do you feel at the moment when you're working in the company? And this is a beautiful thing that, the art of abstraction can take you to a different level because it showcases your analytical skills also that you are using, and you are actually able to jot down the most important points in that particular 200, piece. And yes, one needs executive presence because you are in a corporate world handling clients, B2B clients with such a big brand like Cognizant. At this point of time in your career, what do you feel, Shubham, is a current challenge you are facing for maybe a next role into your career, or maybe a next title into your career at the moment, or what you feel you need to prepare more on at this time?
Yeah, so one thing is that IT industry is so there is AI word that is going around in circles, right? AI this, AI that. So to come constantly update oneself with what is happening in the technology landscape, and to bring that narrative in your pitching, right? I mean, if you go to a customer nowadays, I'm just telling you as an experience, right? If you go to a customer without AI in your pitch, the customer won't even listen to you. So I think it's a combination of bringing the contemporary trends into your product pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And that is constantly being evolved as we speak, right? It is constantly being evolved 6 months very rapidly, even as there is a trend of generative AI, AGI, agentic AI, all these things are being constantly being innovated by different companies. So to bring that in your product pitch and to constantly update yourself is, I think, it's a challenge, and it's a challenge that is a healthy challenge. I think one should constantly update themselves. One should constantly strive for new knowledge, and it also keeps one's mind fresh, and one avoids the comfort zone in that sense that they constantly update themselves, and they also disseminate that information to a larger group for their benefit, right? So that is also important. For my next role, I feel sort of a business development manager, senior business development manager, or yeah, I mean, that I think in a business or a growth role, I think I feel, or a program manager role is also fine. I mean, a program lead is also fine. I'm open to either of these roles, right? So that is fine. I mean, yeah.
So, what are the current skill set you are learning at the moment? Because you always talk about, learning and upgrading your skills. What are the current skill sets you are going through?
I recently did a course on generative AI,
Okay.
course on LLMs. I recently did a training on business process management. All
Mm-hmm.
these offerings that are part of our service line, right? The one that I have to sell, or
Mm-hmm.
the one that we sell to customers, I have to constantly learn about them. I have to
Mm-hmm.
constantly keep updated. So I do trainings on them. I do sort of I attend workshops. Our company's Cognizant is really great at conducting these L&D initiatives throughout
Mm-hmm.
the organizations. So I take a part in them. I also There is also a sales mastery that they have designed internally. There is a sales process,
Mm-hmm.
structured sales process that they have defined. It's a 10-step process wherein from start to finish how you make a sale, right? You approach the customer, there is a 10-step process. So I think that is also a course. Then financials, the financial management for a particular customer, that is also a course. So all of the skill sets are neatly tied to courses that the L&D team at Cognizant has defined for us. So we do those courses. I think that is very that is part of our KRA actually that we have to do. So I think that keeps me updated and yeah,
Sure,
abreast with all.
it's so nice to hear, your satisfaction is so prominent and your learning is so prominent with this organization, because I am also working with this organization. I used to work, for campus placement, but this is for the first time I'm learning so good about their L&D initiative like any other firm. And I'm very happy that you are actually on the path of your learning as well, and you're moving ahead onto your journey. In the last podcast, you were also talking about some piece of reading the newspaper, especially the Hindu, the Mint. How you are continuing with that habit and how you feel it is still contributing to your professional growth while you're already a working professional now.
Right. So I think that's a very valid point. So for any MBA professional, it's the expectation that the company that brings you in, that you have to go through a lot of artifacts. You have to go through a lot of material that the customer sends. They can be formed in the form of technical diagrams, in the form of briefs, in the form of description of their system. So a lot of reading is involved in any job, whether it's a consultant, whether it's a bid manager, program manager. I think in any post MBA role, you have to read a lot, you have to analyze a lot. So I think the habit of reading that one inculcates during the MBA preparation. I think that sets a foundation in a way of reading it later. One must read it like it's very easy, like it's like it doesn't feel like a burden. One must approach reading like that. I mean, it should be a second nature to an MBA graduate, a very good MBA graduate in that sense. So reading those newspapers like the Hindu, right? I used to read them during my commute to office before my MBA, and reading different articles. I mean, there is one website, Art in Letters, I think, Art and Letters, or some website. Then there is World Bank. There are different websites that one can find, right? In which you get exposed to a variety of topics, like whether it's a political discourse in Europe, whether it's the technology intervention, or whether it's one should be comfortable with reading everything. I mean, that's how it should be, because life can give you challenges in any way. So one should be
Mhm.
well read enough. So I think Hindu was good because I thought Hindu, the opinion presented by the editors in Hindu, they were very nuanced, they were very detailed. They were quite actually they helped in the vocabulary part too, in understanding and refining one thought, right? And the one other exercise that can be done is, when you read an article, you explain it to your colleague, or you talk about it in conversations, or you explain it to your parents also.
Mhm.
That is really important in refining one's understanding and enriching one's thoughts. I think
Mhm.
that really helped. Yeah.
Mhm. After listening to you in couple of podcasts, what I can now gauge for is that you have utilized your time wonderfully. Be it your communicating time, be it your sharing knowledge ahead, and the way you have actually reciprocated to your own learning. For youngsters today, with the presence of so much of mobile technology around, what suggestion would you like to give it to them? Because you have gained in life so far, because you have been utilizing your time, you have been channelizing your time in a very resourceful manner. So, what advice would you like to give it to them? Because I see so many students, professionals of your age, the way you have used your time, it is quite commendable. So, what do you think about it? The time management, because there are so many workshops, people do a lot of courses on stress management, anxiety management, time management, but the way you have been using, you have built it as a second nature to yourself. So in this context, what you would like to give as a piece of advice to the young generation today?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, first of all, I really thank you that you have been really kind enough in praising me to the moon. I really am really feeling pumped up, and I infected by your infectious energy. To be honest, coming to time management aspect, ma'am, I feel to be honest, to be really candid, right? I am not a great time manager. My father can attest to that. So he's in
You have
fact a really great
utilized it
time.
pretty well. I mean, in 3 years while you were traveling in metro, you prepared for cat. I mean,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
something very, very good for me to know that actually.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that is one aspect. So I think time management. What how I feel is there is a very good video by I think some Ankur Wariku or someone that there are two dimensions of task can be. It's an urgent and important. Urgent or yeah, important, right? So you make a 2x2 grid, urgent and important. You strike off those activities which are most urgent and most important first, then you strike off those activities which are more urgent but less important than the other two quadrants. So I think I sort of follow that framework. I don't. I used to write down my tasks earlier. My dad is a voracious, timekeeper and a task keeper. So I've learned it. I've picked it from him. He ensures that every task gets done perfectly. So yeah, I think having a diary helps. Having a diary in which you basically jot down all these tasks really helps. And dedicating a chunk of time towards preparation, identifying those pockets of time during one day, and doing it consistently over a period of time. I think that helps. And during my time at NSIT, I mean, I was exposed to such brilliant minds. I still feel, quite less as compared to them. They were quite great. So the way they used to manage their time, I mean, their funda was that we will be relentless. We will wake up 20 hours and we will perform in fest. We will dance in fest. We will participate in a conference. We will go for a walk with our near and dear ones. So they were really great in those terms. So I feel inspired by looking at them. So I think having those inspirational figures somehow also pushes one to manage their time and push it. I think that is also one bonus thing that I feel still.
Sure. I actually now feel that yes, Shubham, you are really blessed because, our parents are angels on Mother Earth, and you have been guided, supported very well by your parents, both of them. And I am so happy to see that you, being a candidate from such a young generation, is so much acknowledging the efforts of your parents. And to make it simple, when you were talking about most urgent and most important for our viewers, this is known as to-do list. You may prepare
Hmm.
that to-do list one day in advance in the evening. This is the way I do, or you may prepare it early morning once you are ready to start your day. But after working for roughly 25 years, I feel that yes, if I'm making it one day before, prior in the evening, by the end of the day, I'm very well sorted with my next morning. And once I'm ready with my list already, there is a scope of some kind of modification if something
Correct.
really pops up above that urgent and important
Correct.
list, even in the morning itself. Because I've already
Correct.
already noted down all the things. So in simple terms, this is known as to make your to-do list for every day. Maybe you can
Correct.
make it in the morning or one day prior to that, after the end of the day of your previous work.
Correct.
Shubham, I'm
Correct.
so very
Absolutely.
thankful to you. And, you are in now in February 2025. What is next for Shubham in another 2 to 3 years professionally?
Uh, Professionally, ma'am, yeah, moving. I think I'm quite content with my company. It's a really supportive team. It's a really supportive company, flexible company, I would say. Yeah, I think growing within the company is also a good option. And if the right time comes, if the right opportunity comes, maybe taking an opportunity out for a better role is also fine. I mean, in the same area. So I think, yeah, either of them. I think I've left these options to God's plan, something that I trust. So yeah.
Sure. Just a last question, because when you were talking about the role, one question came to my mind, which youngsters are very confused about. A lot of them are very much pulled or attracted towards the packages. And
Hmm.
behind that wall, the importance of role you are going to do, the responsibilities you are going to do, the learning which is going to happen is somewhere get hidden. So, what according to you should be your last advice to people for that role or package?
I think one should analyze. One should have a basic common sense that let's say if a package is, let's say, for example, we can analyze, let's say, 50 lakh package, a 30 lakh package, and a 10 lakh package. Let's say these three are our data points. So it's quite common sense that if a company is paying you 50 lakh rupees, they would extract the same amount, if not more, right? That is very common sense. That is how business works on a return on investment basis. So a 50 lakh package would come with that amount. Obviously, one has to read the CTC letter and all those things to understand the caveats and all. That's a separate topic. But if they are giving you this much money, which is quite high, in my opinion, they would extract that amount of time also from you, and they would extract that output from you, right? The manager, the manager's manager, the entire business unit leaders, right? They would extract that amount of output from you. So if you have signed up for it, there is there is absolutely no reason to complain. So I think if you whatever package you sign up for, you have to understand that you have to deliver the same results accordingly. If you can't deliver, maybe shift to a lower package, but it's absolutely futile to complain at a later stage. That's what I feel. And package, I think there are it's a multivariate decision. It's not a
Mhm.
single data point that can be seen, right? There are companies which will offer you a 50 lakh package, but they might lay you off in the next quarter because they didn't receive the funding from their investors, right? So there used to be, I don't want to name the companies, but there are some flashy startups. They offer these very good roles, 30 lakh package, 35 lakh packages. But when the funding winter comes, they will lay off their employees and they will treat them like anything. Any company does that, but the big companies, right? They might offer you a lesser package, like a company like Cognizant or TCS. They might offer you a less package, but the job security is relatively high. It's extremely high. In fact, I know people who have been in the company for 20 plus years. I know a lot of people in companies like Cognizant, Infosys, and all these companies, and even other companies too, right? So having to understand that a job security and a job longevity is also a very important variable. Job security, job longevity, the culture of a company, whether the company is accommodative or not, right? Whether a company acts at what top down or bottoms up. If a company is too tops down, there is no autonomy, there is no freedom. Maybe a 50 lakh package is not enough, right? So it's a multivariate decision. It's a very personal decision, and one
Sure.
must analyze all the factors. One must talk to many seniors before joining the company, right? 50 lakh package is like one data point that shines through, but it is a very personal decision, and one must analyze it completely and carefully. And I know many people who got placed with very flashy packages, maybe one of the highest and all those things, right? But after a year, they left the company, or the company left them. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a multivariate decision. It's not just package. There are many things involved. I remember I personally have been going through some difficult times. My company has been extremely supportive. My colleagues and the company. So that cannot be quantified in terms of what package
Money,
and all these
yes,
things.
package,
That
sure.
cannot be quantified. I mean, there have been countless things that I have been giving to my home, right? And there have been absolutely no questions asked and full support given to me. So I cannot quantify that in a package or a number.
Sure,
So I think this is a very multivariate decision. So
sure. I'm so thankful, Shubham, for giving your time today. And I'm taking the liberty to share your LinkedIn URL in both the podcast so that the young generation can look up to you as an